Republicans held the third debate of the primary season Wednesday night, and rather than winnow the field, this debate seemed to expand the options for several of the candidates. Among the winners, first off, Marco Rubio, the Florida senator. He seemed to turn every question his way. He talked about his bartender father, his maid mother, the guy who does his dry cleaning. He addressed voters directly, looking at the camera, and he seemed really on point tonight.
Right, and he came in with a vulnerability tonight, and that a lot of people have been talking about his Senate record. He's missed something like 30% of the votes this year. One of his home state newspapers, the Sun Sentinel, yesterday called for him to resign because he's not doing the job, according to them. And he came in and he turned it around. He was really well prepared, and he turned it around basically into an attack on the media, arguing that the media doesn't go do the same thing with liberal candidates. And also, Jeb Bush tried to attack him on this, and he turned that around as well.
He was very adept at sort of an unspoken, really strong suit of good politicians, which is to change the subject when they don't want to be addressing what they do want to.
He was clearly very well prepared for that.
Exactly. John Kasich, the Ohio governor, came in very aggressive from the get-go, hammered a lot of the candidates sort of in total by saying that voters shouldn't have to deal with these fantasy people who won't be president. He was very aggressive, repeated throughout the night that Ohio has recovered economically, and claimed credit for it, of course, although some Democrats would like to disagree with that, and really had the time to become a more forceful candidate on stage tonight.
And we saw it from the very first moments of the debate. I mean, each candidate was asked to name their weakness, and he wasn't having none of that. And he was just like, no, I'm here to talk about the rest of the field and why they should not be president. So he was very forceful from moment one.
Exactly. Those two candidates were sort of more positive in their, aggression. Some of the negative candidates also were successful, though. Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, got among the biggest applauses of the night when he attacked the media, which is a familiar target for Republican candidates, but one he knew he could go to the well with and get some response. And his essential point was, you're picking on us, you don't pick on the Democrats, even though the moderators were not the ones who he accused of picking on Democrats. But he also, like Kasich, got a little bit more screen time this time to his benefit.
Right. And also, I think one of the dynamics that we're starting to see on the ground is he is going after some of the people you would think would support Rand Paul. And tonight you had him raising Ron Paul, Rand Paul's father, aligning himself with him on monetary policies. And that seemed like a clear, courting of libertarian-minded voters.
Absolutely. The other sort of surprise victor, perhaps, at the low end of the scale tonight was Chris Christie, who has had a sort of star-crossed, difficult campaign. He's not the ascendant Republican behemoth that he thought he might be coming into this race. But he had a lot of good lines tonight, and particularly sort of turned a flip remark by Jeb Bush about online betting into an assault both on the moderators and on Bush, saying, really? We're talking about this? We have a lot of problems in this country, and we need to address them.
And that moment was a reminder of why people initially thought that Chris Christie could go very far, because he's usually very good on the stump, very good speaking. He's attractive to people when he speaks, but I think a lot of that's gotten lost out because of the various scandals and because he hasn't received as much attention in recent months.
Exactly. For those being the winners, there were a couple of notable losers tonight, relatively speaking anyway. This was supposed to be a contest where Donald Trump and Ben Carson maybe took it on together. They're the leading in the polls by an astonishing amount at this point in time. But they were really sort of bit players in this whole drama.
I was really shocked that Trump didn't go after Carson right away, because, I mean, anytime anybody has gotten under his skin, he has just, ferociously gone after them. And he hinted over the weekend that he was bringing up Carson's religion. He was bringing up whether he was low energy, which is usually an attack he reserved for Jeb Bush. So he was really signaling that he was going to be aggressive, and then we didn't see how that played out at all.
Exactly. And we also saw that Carson appeared to be tentative and a little bit out of his element when
especially
pressed
in discussing
on specific.
Policy.
Right, exactly. His campaign has been a campaign of character, not a campaign of policy prescriptions, and that really showed tonight.
And I think the one response where he did get some, where a lot of people noticed, was his response about being on the board of Costco and how you can be opposed to same-sex marriage while at the same time respecting the rights of gay people. And I think on social media, especially from some somewhat moderate conservatives, that got some attention, some notice.
Carly Fiorina, she had presence in this debate, but it didn't appear to be the kind of breakout moment as the first debate was, which launched her from the kiddie pool up into the big leagues in terms of these debates.
I mean, I think back then in both the first and the second debate, she was more of an unknown quantity, so that's when she impressed people who up until then knew nothing about her. Also, this time around, you had so many people who were trying to make a difference, trying to make a mark, who really felt they had to make a mark tonight. So I think that there might have been less of an opportunity for her to have that breakthrough moment.
The big loser, perhaps, of the night was the former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. He's had a really rocky couple of weeks. His fundraising is drying up. He's had to lay off staff and diminish the salaries of those who remain on his staff. And he's got the baying of donors wondering what happened to the front runner that he used to be. Tonight, he just seemed to be present in some moments, but really not strike the kind of either aggressive or pointed sort of, affront that people expect in these debates.
I think people were really looking at tonight as sort of a do or die moment for him. His donors are anxious. They were just all in Texas with his father and his brother, where his people were basically reassuring his donors that don't worry, it'll be okay. He's flailing in the polls. He's not doing well in places that he was expected to do well. He's bleeding money, as you said. So I think people were really looking for him to try to make a mark tonight. And the one point he did come in aggressive. He went after Trump immediately, and then he went after Rubio immediately. But especially with the Rubio attack, it really fell flat when Senator Rubio turned it around on him. And then I think he was on stage for less than 10 minutes, or I'm sorry, he was on camera for less than 10 minutes. So he didn't really have an impact much of the rest of the debate.
And he is a candidate who has struggled to find a path. And by the fact that a lot of establishment candidates rose tonight, his path becomes even harder because he thought he would command that space, and he clearly hasn't.
Right. I mean, everyone thought that he would be the presumptive front runner. He had everything was right on paper. He had the resume, he had the money, he had the donor networks of his father and his brother. I think everyone agrees he's a smart man, but he just has not penciled out the way people expect him to, and that gives people like Senator Rubio the opportunity to rise.
For more on politics, go to latimes.com/politics. See you next time.